to the Relevant Roundtable, where we meet every first and third Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we have a special guest with us. She is a author. She is a person that has truly traveled a journey of tragedy into triumph. I am certainly excited. One of the books that I'm just going to mention at the top of our episode tonight is Tough Love. You have to go and check this book out. It is on Amazon. That is actually where I ordered it from. It is an amazing write. She talks about how you can sit in your stuff, right? And so we certainly appreciate a woman of honesty, integrity, with servant leadership. And so tonight, I introduce to you on the Relevant Roundtable, Miss Claudetta Griffin. So, Claudetta, I'm going to just give this audience to you, friend, and to give them a little bit of insight about who you are.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tony, for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. I am super transparent. I am a bunch of different things. I'm sure as many of you wear different hats. I am a daughter. I am a mom. I am a sister. I am a retired military veteran. I am a mentor, counselor. I'm gonna stop with that. Oh, and I'm an author too. But I'm a bunch of things. But one thing that I am is I'm real. I'm honest about who I am, my intentions in life, and I tend to look for the very best in other people. I used to, and I still do sometimes, look for myself in other people, but that is such a horrible plan because you're not going to find yourself because we're all authentically and beautifully made, in my humble opinion, no matter what we may think of ourselves at times. But I think that the best thing that I can continue to do is to seek the best in other people. Not perfection, just the best that they could possibly offer. And then also, I love to meet people where they are. When I think in terms of a football field from end zone to end zone, I may be standing at one end zone and the other person may be standing at the 50-yard line and they may not be able to go an inch further. So therefore, I meet them where they are and then we go from there. And sometimes, depending on where they are in their journey, I may not necessarily be able to meet them there. But I can love them from a distance and I can offer what resources and advice I have that could possibly help them. But that is something that I'm a firm believer of, is to meet people where they are. I used to be a firm believer of trying to tug people and yank them the way I wanted them to be. But that is not the way to go because, as I just said, we are all beautifully made and we're all unequivocally individuals and original in our own making, right? So you can't try to make somebody be what you want them to be. We can all try to be our best selves, but that's pretty much all we can do. And if you can't be your best self, I'm going to love you from a distance. I'm going to wish the very best for you, but I've learned from personal and professional experience that everybody can't come. It is unfortunate, but it is true, which is another reason why I wrote the book Tough Love, because I think a lot of times people tend to tell people these comfortable lies, these give people cushioned excuses, and they consider that love or affection or being real. And I feel like the worst thing that you can have in your circle is a bunch of people that's only going to tell you yes. And I also feel like tough love doesn't necessarily have to be like a ball peen hammer. It can just be no, it can just be yes, but let's tweak it a little bit. It can just be not left. Let's try right. And if right don't work, then maybe we can go left. But I think right would possibly serve you better. Tough love, I think, gets a bad rap from people when it comes to the way that it's interpreted. Some people have a nasty way of delivering messages to people, and they coin that as tough love. I don't believe in that. I believe that one of the most loving and respectful things that I could be in this world is honest. And that's not to say that I've never told a lie, because I have. I'm not proud of it, but I have. But In my seasoned years, honesty really is my best policy. Now, don't get me wrong. Um, little white lies I've told at work where my boss might be like, "Well, where were you?" I'd be like, "Well, I was on the job site and I had stopped by the arcade." Right? It's not going to kill anybody. It's not, the world's not going to tilt over or anything like that. So I feel I justify that to myself. Although it's still dishonest, I feel like it's not horrible. Now, when it comes to lies that could determine whether someone lives or dies, lights get turned on or off, a car wreck happens, things like that, magnitude matters. But honesty is important, and I can't tell someone that I love them and lie to them. And I'm one of those people. I've said this one phrase since I was a very little girl: God bless everybody in the whole wide world, and I love you. When I say my prayers, and I do, I love every creature that I believe God put on this earth. The degree to which I love you varies, but I still love you. And the distance of how I will love you varies, but I still love you. So I can't tell you I love you if I'm gonna lie to you. And I don't know that. I don't think that's ever gonna change. I don't think that's ever gonna change. I don't really want it to either. So that's that.
That's a good segue into talking about tough love and what tough love did for you on the onset of your journey from the tragedy to triumph. For our listeners' sake, can you talk to us about what started the tragedy?
Oh wow. Okay. Buckle up. Okay. So I'm gonna try and make this as short and bittersweet as possible. I can't think of a definitive chronological timeline, if you will. But there's a cluster of traumas that happened during my childhood. I was molested a few times by a few different people: my cousin, my cousin's best friend, my mother's boyfriend. My father left. My grandmother passed when I was 8 years old. Um, but those things, I think, are what started it. I grew up one of very few little girls on my block, so I grew up a tomboy, and I believe I was like born with that, with a fighting spirit, right? So when I think of tough love from that age, it was, you really don't, I grew up in poverty, so you really don't have a lot of time to be sitting around crying, feeling sorry for yourself, because stuff got to get done. Like, I didn't have anyone to drive me to school or pick me up. I had to walk, and being from Chicago, that sometimes meant that the snow would reach your hips or whatever. So if you were fortunate enough to be able to carry another pair of pants in your backpack or some dry shoes, then that's great. If not, oh well, suck it up, buttercup. You got to learn. So you just do what you got to do. But my son called me a few days ago and was basically talking about traumas that I suffered and things like that, and how he wished that he could erase those things. But he also thought about, would I be who I am now without those things? I don't I don't know, obviously, because magic ain't real. I wish that I could say definitively that I would be who I am regardless of what happened to me, but the truth of the matter is I don't know. But what I did learn very early on was that it wasn't going to beat me, right? Um, I don't want to say it wouldn't make me or break me, because there are parts that did break, I believe. But that tough love it was unavoidable. I had my tough love, thinking back to when I went through those traumas, I had to be tough in order to love myself enough to keep going. Now, that tough love is not the same tough love that I wrote about, but that is still a form of tough love. And that, I believe, depending on where you are in your life or your journey or your struggles or your triumphs, tough love may take a different meaning for that person. But that propelled me. I did not consciously think of being tough and how I just had to keep loving myself through whatever it was I was going through. I just remember just from being a tomboy, like this ain't gonna beat me. Like my life still had to go on. So I just did what I needed to do to continue through life. Looking back, I didn't make the best decisions. But then again, therapy wasn't a commonplace in my family, nor in conversation, nor in the community of which I lived in. So when people talk about, well, why didn't you go to therapy? I've had people say that to me. I'm just like, because you live in the now, and the now is not my then. My then was a time where therapy was not even, it was a word in the dictionary. I'll just say that. That's what therapy was. And I probably skipped past that shit. What? We broke. We better know if we're going to eat dinner. Like, get out of here with that therapy. It sounds good now, but times were different. So my childhood tough love was one thing. But I also, my mother was a single mom. And although I believe to my core, she loved us, it was a different type of love. Again, like she was in the provider mindset. So wherein I guess in a traditional sense, the mother and the father in the home, the father is the provider, the protector, and the mother is the nurturer, the lover, the teacher. My mother had to wear a crap ton of hats because it was just her. Now, don't get me wrong, she had a village, but within that village were other single moms. So that tough love became my orbit. I didn't realize it then, getting 2 and 3 whoopings, 4 whoopings before she get home from work. It's tough love. You're not where you said you were supposed to be. Your mama didn't tell you that you could be here, whatever, whatever. We're going to make sure that you learn this lesson through pain, not to screw up again, which is tough love, right? That's another lesson. Another version, I guess, of tough love. And that was the prevailing umbrella of which I lived my childhood. And some people don't understand how I could feel loved in that environment, but I'm not really big on explaining it because I know what I felt, and it's sometimes I guess it's hard to explain that. But I'm a Gen Xer, so a lot of Gen Xers, they get it because I have a T-shirt that says we've been adulting since we was in elementary school, which is 100% facts. You understand what I'm saying? So it's one of those, if you know, you know, and what's understood does not have to be explained. But I try to do a decent job of helping people to understand because I think knowledge is very important, and I don't like to be one of those people that's just like, well, if you had been there, you'd know, and if you weren't there, you just, it's not for you to know. But I think that's something that's important to help people understand as best I can, because I don't know, some things that happened to me throughout my life, I've only recently come to understand myself, and that's through therapy. I did a lot of self-help work on myself over the years because I hadn't been to therapy because I grew up, and even in my early adult life, there was a stigma attached to it in the military. And then also not being knowledgeable, I believe, kept me from the information that probably would have helped me. But going to therapy was looked at as you're broken. And if you're broken, you got to go home. And one of the reasons why I joined the military was to improve the quality of life for my family. So in my mind, if going to therapy was going to send me home, I'm good. Back to work I go. I will drink it away. I will smoke it away. I will laugh it away. I will whatever. I was good. I wasn't going to no therapist because y'all don't think I'm crazy. You're going to send me home. And no, my family deserves better. And if my daddy wasn't going to be around to do it, my brother wasn't going to be around to do it, ta-da, I'm it.
So let's go back a little bit. In your childhood, the multiple times that you were violated, and being in a household with a single parent, knowing the pressure and the weight that was on your mother, was it difficult for you to expose what was happening to you as a result of her position? Or was the relationship there where you were able to convey what was going on?
Oh, is your seatbelt still on? All right, here we go. So, one of my abusers was a cousin, a male cousin, right? He lived with us at one point when it happened. But before it happened, he would abuse my siblings and I by making us take our clothes off and beat us with belts and stuff when my mother was at work. And when she came home and we told her, he didn't get kicked out. So, as a grown woman who's been in therapy, I understand that I didn't feel my mother was a safe place for me to land. So, when he molested me, the thought process now, I believe, is why would I tell her? She ain't gonna do nothing, right? So I dealt with it. So but I didn't know that as a kid. And I did not understand, I understand the pressures that my mother was on now. But as a kid, I didn't understand that. I feel like if I had understood the pressure that she was under, I would have been a little bit better as a kid. I was something else. I love that woman, but I was not a walk in the park. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, when it comes to my trauma, my mother was not a safe place for me. And then she had a way of talking to me that was it was sharp. I understand to a certain degree that, each generation is raised differently, right? And we only know what we know. And she didn't necessarily grow up in an environment where she could make her own thoughts and have her own say and so on and so forth. So she did what she knew. And that was what she knew. And that was all she knew, I guess. The resources that we have now for parenting and the sense of community and the wholesomeness of trying to make things better. It I assumed that wasn't there necessarily for her because I didn't see all of those resources available to me when I was a young parent growing up. So I can only imagine the scarcity that she dealt with. No excuses. That's just the way it is. So, yeah, my mother was not that soft landing for me. And I just, I really didn't see the point. Cause I remember one time she whooped us after he whooped us. Yeah.
Because earlier you said that you were a tomboy,
Hmm.
right? And so do you feel like that was a defense mechanism, that was the exterior of hardness or toughness that you had to put on because you had found no safe landing or no safe space?
Absolutely. And I don't know who you think you are, like you know me, but anyway, yes, yes. I was determined that because in my mind, if I built up my armor, if you will, if I made myself tougher, this is not going to happen to me again, right? Because I can defend myself or I can exude a type of aura that makes people think like, no, don't mess with her. She ain't the one. When I was telling this was another eye opener. It's funny that you mentioned that. It was an eye opener for me when I was talking to my therapist because I believe when I was in the military and then when I was growing up, there was a category. There were girls that you either was fast, right, or you was slow, or you was like me, a tomboy. I didn't want to be with the slow girl. I couldn't be with the fast girl. My mom was like, "Yeah, you fucking with them." So I had to hang out with the boys, right? And that didn't necessarily work too well for me because I was like I was telling my therapist, when I was in the military, was determined that I was going to work hard for everything that I ever had. Nobody could say that they gave me anything, I begged for something, or I fucked or sucked my way to where I was, because I had seen young ladies doing that. And I wanted to earn. My mother taught me how to earn the things that I want in my life. And I thought that that would gain, that would gain me like respect, but it just put a bullseye on my back. I was raped in the Navy. So, and in therapy, it became clear to me that in my quest to try to be the best that I could be, that just didn't sit well with some people. So they figured I'll fix her. You know what I'm saying? And I guess a plan was hatched to fix it or fix me. And they did their damage, you know, but I'm still here. So there's a finger that I'm sticking up to all of them, because I'm still here.
When that happened in the Navy, because now we're looking at um, similar violations from childhood to adulthood, but violations from the childhood that you ultimately had the ability to escape and to manage, right? Before therapy. So when this happens to you in the military, does it take you back to the place emotionally and mentally when it happened as a child?
Yes and no. The betrayal, the assault in the Navy, in some ways hurt even more, because throughout your initial training process, in a nutshell, you are stripped of your civilian identity, and then you're built back up as a unit, as a family, not just with the people who you are in boot camp, military, basic military training with, but you're being indoctrinated to understand that military members worldwide are your family, because we all put on a uniform. We all took an oath to serve our country with honor, dignity, and pride. And you know how people say, don't drink the Kool-Aid? I drank the whole container. I fully believe that, because in a sense, I guess it was an escape from my childhood. At least I thought, right? So I wholeheartedly believed that I had a family, that I was walking in my purpose, and I was serving the greater good, only to be violated by those who took the same oath as me. And of course, you know, you get older, you mature, you understand that just because we all raised our right hand and we recited the oath, that we don't take that to heart, right? We don't all take it to heart. Like, there are multiple reasons why we serve in the military. I was just naive enough to believe that we all served for honorable purposes. But some people join to see the world. Some people join for money for college. Some people join for medical benefits, dental benefits. There are a variety of reasons. People join just to marry someone. You know, it's a multitude of reasons. But when I was younger, I fully believed that we all were one. And when you strike one of us, you strike all of us. But that, although that's the way it should be, that is not the way that it is. So that hurt me immensely. And when I had that breakthrough in therapy, if I'm not mistaken, I think I ended my session early because I couldn't handle. Therapy is one of the most gratifying experiences and most painful experiences of my life. I would encourage everybody to seek therapy, whether you're doing well in your life or you have significant traumas that you're trying to heal from. I would encourage you to go, because just like myself, I hadn't thought about the certain situations, and that's just one of a few breakthroughs that I had in therapy. But that was a very big aha moment, that I hadn't even considered, because in life we go, right? As kids, it's not necessarily the same speed and intensity of which you go, but when you become an adult and you got like real responsibilities, people got their parents, they got to drop kids off at soccer practice, somebody got ballet recital, you got to make sure that the fees are paid for graduation, the lights still got to come on, oh Lord, this roof might cave in, or let's make sure I still have a roof. It's just dot dot dot, the oil change, all these things. And when we're in go mode, a lot of times we don't take time to do inventory on the internals, because sometimes some people just are like, keep it over there, and some people just don't realize it, like, because you're too focused on adulting. That's why some people be like, adulthood is the worst hood ever. Because it's like, good Google ugly, it doesn't ever stop. No, it does not, but we can manage it. We just gotta utilize the resources that are available to us. So to wrap it all up, yes, it was difficult. I'm sorry I went off on a tangent. I do that sometimes.
No, you're absolutely fine. So, um, when you get breakthroughs like that, um, I could imagine that there is a certain level of freedom, a certain level of liberty. Has there been that level of liberty and freedom for you from your childhood violations to the military violations that allowed you to come to a place of forgiveness?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've always been big on forgiveness. Even when I was a kid, I remember when I wrote my book and my cousin was asking me, it wasn't then. It was after I had my daughter. Um, he picked her up, and again, unprocessed, unhealed trauma. Right. I saw him pick her up out of the corner of my eye, and a surge of "I'm gonna put her down" type of, and we had to go. I went in the room. Basically, we went in the room and I had to talk to, because my mother didn't understand what was going on because I hadn't said anything to her. Right. So that's when I told her. And then he's just like, "I'm so sorry. Would you forgive me?" I said, "I already forgave you, but don't touch my baby." you know. And we had to have a conversation about it. And my mother we were at a different place by then, because this all happened when I was a little girl. And by then I was a young adult woman. So my mother had, I guess, done some growing up herself. So we had a conversation about it, and we moved on from there. But I made sure I let him know, like, I already forgave you. The person who I hadn't forgiven was myself. I was blaming myself for years for what had happened to me. Multiple things that had happened to me in my life. I was blaming myself. And then I had to come to a realization that, how you gonna you're a child. You ain't even responsible for how late you stay outside with play with your friends. So what are you talking about? You know what I mean? That's not your responsibility to be in charge of what happens or doesn't happen to you. When I took the responsibility away from myself and put it on him, who was the adult at the time, there was a huge burden that was lifted off of me. But forgiveness is something that I'm a huge proponent of. Life hard enough. I'm not carrying no dead weight for nobody, not for me, and I definitely ain't carrying it for you. So I'm going to forgive you, right? Because that's primarily for me. That's my little selfish plug there. I'm not carrying the dead weight of what you did to me. Now, will I still talk to you, have a relationship with you? Like I said, I can love you, but stay over there. I can care about you from over here while you way over there. I gotta call you. I don't wish any ill wills towards you, but I do not have to have a relationship with you, blood or not. And I'm not one of those people who believe, well, who's their family? Okay, well, if you was family, you shouldn't have did what you did. But stay over there. I love you. I wish nothing but the absolute best for you. But having a relationship with people who have wronged me in ways like that, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. But yeah, forgiveness is is a very freeing thing for me. And I've gained a sense of freedom that I've never ever had in my life. I would not have had this conversation with you prior to therapy. Not doing it. Wasn't talking about it. I talked about it as a drive-by. Like, yeah, they follow me because it was like, I guess it was a day that ended in day. Touch her, whatever. It was nothing because I can say it fast when I'm driving by. But to sit in it, like I say, that's a little bit more difficult. But I've learned to do that. I've learned to have uncomfortable moments. I've learned to shed tears when they come. I used to compartmentalize because that's something that I had to learn how to do in the Navy because there are phrases that were said to me like your feelings don't come in a sea bag, which is the bag where you put all your uniforms, and your emotions don't come in your sea bag, which translates to we don't care about how you feel. We care about if you have all your uniforms squared away so that we can do our jobs. We care about whether you have all the tools that you need, meaning wrenches, hammers, screwdrivers, whatever tools I needed to perform my job as a mechanical engineer. That's what was most important. How you feel, F your feelings, basically. Nobody cared about that. So I had to learn how to compartmentalize to the point where it's almost like I forgot or like I made them invisible in times. I remember just leaving my kids. I would try to leave before they woke up because it broke my heart to have to look at them. My daughter had a tougher time, I think, than my son because sometimes I would have to go to her school because she'd break down and stuff like that. And it just killed me because that was not what I signed up for. But the oath of enlistment is a lot more than just the words that you recite out loud. When people say the devil is in the details, it really is.
So, in forgiving yourself, right, for your adolescent experience, how did you process that it wasn't your fault with the military experience?
I was uh I was inundated with victim shaming. Not mine, other women. Well, if you ain't had that on, then it wouldn't have happened. Well, why'd you go over there? Or why would you buy this person? Or why'd you hang out so late? And blah blah. I've heard so many different ways to blame the victim, men as well, because I have knowledge of some men who were violated in different ways, sexually, mentally, verbally, and it was from the people who were victim blaming. It was never about the behavior. It was never about the offender. It was always about the person who was offended. And for a minute, I almost became one of those people because that's all I was around. That's all I didn't. There was no differing opinions. Everybody was like, "Yeah, oh stank, look at that skirt." Blah 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 blah. It was always something. So in the midst of all of that, somehow I decided that didn't make sense to me. It just didn't make sense to me that I was responsible for what happened to me, right? It didn't make sense to me that I trusted people who were supposedly my family and then they betrayed me. I just could not wrap my head. How is it my fault? How is it my fault that you sought me out for whatever reason, right? Whatever excuse you made up, whatever way you convinced yourself. Help me understand how I was the one that was responsible for all that. When the math wasn't mathing, as the word people would say, when 1+1 did not equal 2, I had to make it make sense to myself that, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. And I don't know if I saw Will Goodwill Hunting around that time or not, but I always think about that when I think about the way that I came to the light bulb came on. Like it is not my fault when Robin Williams told Matt Damon, it's not your fault. And he was like, yeah, I know, because that's sometimes when you're not trying to confront something, you just brush it off. Remember, I told you I used to do the drive-bys, right? You're just like, yeah, man, I know. It ain't. He's like, no, it's not your fault. It's like, yeah. And then he's like, hey, man, quit messing with me because you don't want to go there in here because that's not something that you do because you've locked that part of yourself away because why show those emotions because people can get to you, right? I had that tough exterior. If I showed my softness, they really gonna get to me because if they got to me when I was ready to bust somebody upside the head, they really gonna get to me if they see me crying or they think I'm weak or whatever. So it's just like no. But that really strikes a chord with me. And even watching the movie to this day, that scene, that breakthrough is something else. Except I didn't have a Robin Williams. I had to do Robin Williams and Matt Damon. It's like, the Robin Williams for me was the mirror. Basically, it's like this ain't your fault. This really ain't your fault. And sitting in it. And again, I'm having a breakthrough right now thinking about how I wrote about sitting in your sometimes hurtful internal turmoil. I was doing that before I wrote the book, before I even came up with that acronym. Life is something else. All them self-help books that I read over the years and moments from movies where I took something to help me, it all helped me to sit here right now, man.
How did you protect the vulnerability of your pain after that happened to you in the military, knowing that if I seek therapy, um, they'll send me home, but I'm here for the greater good of my family. So how did you protect that vulnerability through that pain?
You buckle up, buttercup. You shut up. You meaning me. Um, you shut up because I've already been down the road of victim blaming, victim shaming. I've seen people leave my ship when it wasn't time for them to transfer because of the block got hot, if you will. And it just got to be too much. People have killed themselves because of the shame, because they didn't feel confident and the resources were not available. Now, mind you, this is before like therapy the way it is now. I I cheated on a boyfriend, unhealed, all full of trauma, whatever. Cheated on him. He broke up with me. And one day I was sitting down talking to my supervisor, and I was just frustrated. I wasn't feeling any way suicidal at all. I was like, I just would love to just wake up one day and not have to worry about doing nothing. Like on a weekend where you ain't got to work. You know what I'm saying? That type of waking up not having to do nothing. This motherfucker, man, I had to go to see the psych people that day because he was nervous. And that day that he had me go talk to the psych people, guess what I had to go do? Clear all my stuff out this man's apartment because I cheated on him and lied. I was like, this is the wrong day. Can I go tomorrow? I promise you I'll go tomorrow. But today, I got to get my stuff. Because he sick of me and I cheated. And I got to get out of his house. It was just a mess. I was just like, whatever. Just, yeah. But a tangent I just went off on. I shut up and I did my job. That's how I protected myself. And I didn't talk about it. And when movies would come on, if we were like what we call birthing, where we live and sleep or whatever, we'd have a TV in there. So when movies would come on where there was something that would trigger me, which I didn't understand it was a trigger then, but if it made me feel as though I was back in that moment, baby, I'm up. Who wants something to drink? Y'all want some snacks? I go. You buy, I'll fly. That term. People, they spend the money and I'll go get it. I had to go to the bathroom and I'd be like, I got to do number 2. I wasn't coming back until that scene was done because I don't got time to be. Because you can't see me like this because I can't trust you because I tried to trust them and look what they did. You know what I'm saying? So it was when I think back on it, it's a wonder that I have made some of the dear friends that I made, because I was messed up, you know. But my God's looking over me, and I guess He knew I was worth something, so He put some quality people in my life. But I was faking it. That fake it till you make it. I'm not a huge fan of that. But baby, I was. When I say I was faking it, I don't mean I was faking. Like I was a version of myself. I was an honest version of myself. But when it came to being vulnerable and stuff like that, man, I ain't doing that. No, because I ain't going home. So no, go to work, go drink. I did so much drinking and promiscuity. I wasn't some porn star, but I have made some reckless decisions just because when you don't know yourself, you can't trust yourself, but you don't know that because you jacked up. So I just kept my head down and did the work and prayed that nobody would see through the facade because I didn't want to come home.
So, what was the pivotal moment for you, where you no longer wanted, really, because facades are weights, they're heavy, um, really heavy. I mean, because you gotta, tan and, it's heavy. So, what was the pivotal moment that you decided, um, enough is enough, and I need to go and get some help?
Uh, when my mom died in 2016, that was the start. I didn't go to therapy that year, but that when I think back on it, that was my when I retired in 2013. That was what put me on the path because I wasn't really ready to retire, but things in my life just wasn't where they were optimal, right? So my retirement, there was depression there because I wanted to ride till the wheels fell off, if you will. But then I was a part where I was like, this ain't fair to my baby sister because she had been caring for my mom and she needs to live her life. So she's been holding it down while I was serving. So I was just like, I'll come home. Um, but coming home when you didn't necessarily want to come home it's difficult. So there's that. But I didn't know it, right? So that's what started my depression. And then my mom passed 3 years after retirement, and we hadn't gotten a chance to do all of the things that I wanted to do with her. So that was that. And then one of my mentors, Leon Walker, wrote a book, and we talk all the time. And he always be talking, oh man, you got stuff people need to hear, girl. You should be talking to people, whatever. It go, psh, psh, you know, it's just conversation now. Okay, whatever. And then he wrote his book, and he's big on tough love. So he basically, it was almost like a direct order, like you will write the book. I just got sick of him talking to me, and I was just like, okay, so it was voice memos and writing down notes on anything I could write my notes down on and everything like that. And I think I started going to therapy right before I wrote the book. And 'cause I just as I'm writing my book through memos and notes and things of that nature, I felt a shift in me, but I couldn't I didn't have my job, right? Because I could hide in my work. And I was doing volunteer work, but volunteer work is not every day. I could grind it away every day when I was in the Navy. I could hide behind deadlines and documents and maintenance and troubleshooting and all this other stuff when I was in the Navy, but I couldn't hide anymore. And because the hats that I wear matter, I felt like I needed to do something so that I could still be myself and be who I need to be for the people that I'm serving, my family, my shipmates. I am a chief petty officer, which matters very much to me. So the sailors that I trained, my friends, I felt like if I couldn't be whole, then I just need to go. So the more I start thinking about go, as in leave this earth, I just there. Although they were thoughts, and I tried it, clearly I wasn't successful. So I was like, I better do something because one of these times when I try, it might work. So I just so I reached out, and thank God somebody was there to catch me. Because when you go for your doctor's appointments in the at the military hospital, part of your check-ins is that they ask you questions like, have you thought about hurting yourself, or have you been stressed out, or things of that nature. And then if your answer is not what they want to hear, I guess it's like a dog whistle for, oh, help her. So one of those times they asked me, and they were like, well, would you like to have someone call you? Would it be okay if somebody called you? And I'm thinking, y'all don't give a fuck about me, but yeah, you can have somebody call. I didn't say that. I was like, yeah, sure, somebody can call, whatever, and they called. So, and it just happened to be during a time when I was having an episode. So, you know, God, that's all I say. He made sure that the right people were there for me, and that I was receptive to the offering of help. So, yeah, that that therapy, it saved my life. My sister was the first person I think to save my life, because when my mom passed, I had plans to pack up the apartment we were living in and just start driving. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just planned on leaving Chicago because in my mind, everywhere I went here, there she was. Little did I know, everywhere I go in the world, there she is, because she's a stalker. Anyway, I was just ready to end it, and my sister just, as she begged me, she said, Claudetta, please don't leave me. Please, please don't leave me. Yeah. She's, yeah. That's enough of that.
Yep. That making the decision, even though they said, can somebody call you? Um, Mentally, that's a decision.
Yep.
So, what was your thoughts at the time and the internal feeling at the moment that made you say, I accept?
I got too close the last time I had tried. And if I think there was a part of me that felt like if I didn't say yes, like I said, the next time might be the last time. And there's a fighter in, like, I'm a fighter. I'm a scrapper, not in the physical sense, although I can. I'm a scrapper in the sense that I'm not going down without a fight. I plan to leave this earth swinging. If life is a person swinging at me, baby, I'm dropping Mike Tyson haymakers on you. Do you hear me? I have such a quest for life now. I feel like I've always wanted to live, but when I tell you I got a death grip on my piece, can't nobody pry it out my hands. I just feel like at that time when I was at my lowest, I was still able to reach up and say, please help me. Please don't fail me, because if y'all fucking around and don't mean it, the next time could be it. I knew I needed help. I just I didn't know how to, and there was always a part of me that was like, well, you know what they say, you know. But I didn't have to worry about them sending me home because I was retired then. So I couldn't. That was not something that I could use. I was like, what they gonna do? Unretire me? They don't. That ain't even a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the worst that can happen? You already tried to kill yourself multiple times. So if this doesn't work, maybe I was supposed to die. I guess. I just I try to. I'm a firm believer of removing excuses. I can rock with a whole bunch of reasons, right? We can work through some reasons, right? But an excuse can kiss my you know what. Like get out of here with that. An excuse. I will shred that thing as quick as a piece of paper going through a shredder. That don't work for me. So it was just I just if I didn't have if it don't make sense, I couldn't stand behind it, right? And I just really had done everything that I felt like I could do to try to fix what was wrong. I was not in the Navy anymore, so I couldn't work through it. I had been drinking from sun up to sundown. I was smoking cigarettes, chain smoking all day long. The only thing that I did that was healthy for myself was work out. But whatever, that's a whole nother podcast. We ain't even gonna go through that. But it wasn't working. It just you tried. It's 26 letters in the alphabet, and I used to say, well, if you tried A, B, and C, and they don't work, then keep going because D right around the corner. E, you standing next to it. But I had got the Z. I was headed to the double A's. Like that ain't the way we talk. We don't. We use the 26 letters that we got. You know, and I felt like I had used them all, and I was just like, what are you gonna do? And then I'm thinking about my kids and my siblings, my nieces, my nephew. I'm thinking about my life, and I'm just like, do you want to be here for them or not? Like, quit being selfish. Like, I know it hurts. I know it's hard, but this ain't working. So try something else, and that something else is the reason why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. Well, this is one of the things. But that was the catalyst, that therapy right there, that vulnerability, feeling comfortable. It's still certain areas, like I still need to go back to therapy because sometimes I feel like I'm unraveling in just daily life. But I do have the tools now that I didn't have before. But that breakthrough, that therapy, it was the catalyst. I would not be here if it was not for therapy and having a will to look.
Well, as we wrap our episode up tonight, what is a viable nugget that you would leave for many men and many women that have gotten to a place because of their trauma, whether it was molestation, rape, mental abuse, you know, whatever the trauma is, what would be that piece of nugget that you would give to them to encourage them that they are really not alone? And yet, just like you, they can live.
This is that tough love, right? So you guys heard me tell you a snippet of some of the stuff that I've been through, right? I hope you heard me when I tell you that I love you, because I do. And I ain't got to know you from a bag of nothing. I love you. And I believe that you were wonderfully made by a creator. You ain't got to believe it. I do. Right? And we only get one life. If you meet somebody that been here before, send them over here, because I know they lying. You only get one life. And we all have a unique opportunity to live it, right? Not survive it, to live it and to thrive. There's going to be some trials and tribulations. If you've been sitting here listening, you heard a little bit of what I've been through. Everybody has something, right? All of our things don't look alike. They ain't identical twins, but we all got something. But you have to have some fight in you. Even if it's the tip of your nails, you claw for your life because you deserve it. You deserve to live your life to the absolute fullest. And don't you let nobody tell you any different. If they didn't give you life, they can't take it from you. They can't strip you of your uniqueness, of your beauty. You own that. And when you get weak, claw for your life. Please do not give up. I'm a little witness that it gets greater later. I don't know how much later. For those of y'all that want to ask me that, I don't know. But it does get greater later. But you ain't going to know if you ain't here. So you got to hang on. And you can't be making excuses for yourself. You have to tell yourself the unadulterated truth. You can't claim to love yourself and be a liar when you look in that mirror. Because the world got plenty of liars that will tell you stuff that's bull. So you got to love yourself enough to tell yourself the truth. And you also have to not be so defensive when people that love you tell you the truth. Because I know some of y'all is watching too. When you love people, you should respect them enough to tell them the truth. That's what I believe. Now, if you can't do that for yourself, then who else you going to be able to do it for? You don't have to answer me. That's just a thought for you, right? Think about that. We all deserve it, and we should be giving that to other people. No perfect world, but we can definitely make this place better. And it's only going to start with each of us. We got to do the work. You can't be lazy. Your life deserves the very best that you can give it. And you can't give it if you're sitting on your ass. Get up and do the work. And if you are lacking in some motivation, try to find people that have motivation, right? I'm sure that you probably seen someone online, or you might know someone in real life. Go ask them questions. Spend some time around somebody. You know, like people say, oh, this person is too bubbly in the morning. Go spend some time around that person. Because they might be able to change your perspective about things. Or just give you, another way to look at things. Our way is not always the best way. Just saying. It's just a nugget for you. So I want you guys to take that with you. And if you would like to ask me questions or send me your thoughts, I am all over social media, but because I'm a dinosaur and I didn't get in early, I don't have the same name across all platforms like some people do. So if you're ready, I am on IG, and I gotta look at this because I don't even be remembering. Sorry. I am on IG at CGRIFF_91. I am on Facebook at Claudetta G. I am on YouTube at Claudetta Griffith, and I am also on there at CG Tough Love 6921, and I'm on TikTok at 1893PHX. My email is claudettag@gmail.com. I will not give you my phone number because some people like to drunk text, and I don't do that. So there you go.
One more thing, Claudetta, though, you actually have another book. So can you quickly introduce to our audience?
See, my brain ain't worth nothing, y'all. So I am a co-author of a book called The Champion's Mindset. Hope you guys can see that. That is me up there with that orange shirt on. I am one of 10 authors. The head author is my publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole. He came up with this great idea for 10 authors to write a book together, and it basically gives each of us a chapter to give our definition of what the champion's mindset is. And my chapter is a little bit of what I talked to you guys about today, and there are other phenomenal authors in there. So if you'd like to pick that up, that is on Amazon as well. And again, that book's name is The Champion's Mindset, Mr. Kelly Cole.
Thank you, Claudetta. I certainly appreciate you coming to the roundtable this evening. And so, as we close up, friends, we thank you for tuning in and just want to remind you that we are here every first and third Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking to people that have had the ability to transform through major life circumstances. So, we thank you for tuning in again, and we welcome you again this coming Thursday at the table. Woo!